Hi, I'm Woman Grandmaster Dina Belenkaya for the 52nd Biel Chess Festival 2019. I would like to show you a very interesting game from the round number 3 against two Grandmasters, Parham Maghsoodloo with white from Iran and Jorge Cori with black from Peru. The game started with e4, e6, French defense, d4, d5, e5, the advanced variation of the French defense. A very interesting fact is that this line is currently known as equalizing for black, but as Parham mentioned after the game, he has prepared this line for a very long time and found some very interesting ideas and practical chances to fight for a win for white. The game proceeded with c5, c3, knight c6, knight f3, bishop d7, bishop e2. Now, here another important fact is that Parham was kind of prepared for this line and better prepared than his opponent, obviously, because Parham doesn't play e4 so often on the first move, and the French defense for black is kind of a usual advice, or not advice, usual option for black to play. So here, Cori has already had 3 different games which I found in the database. 2 of them proceeded with knight g e7. And one game was from very long time ago, which is not relevant for us anymore because Cori was just a kid at that time. It was back in 2007. So I just took into account those 2 games from 2012. They both proceeded with knight a3. No, sorry, one proceeded with knight a3 and another one proceeded with short castle. But f6 that happened in the game was never played by Cori ever before. So I guess this was kind of a first surprise for Parham, but he did a very well job starting from here. So in the game, white castled, f takes e5, knight takes e5. You should know that e5 is a very important square in the French defense for both white and black. And the whole point of this opening is usually around this very square. Knight takes e5, d takes e5, queen c7, attacking the e5 pawn. c4. This was the first very important moment in the game when black needed to make a wise decision. Eventually, he did not succeed because he should have played queen takes e5, and after c takes d5, queen takes d5 is not a good move, neither is e takes d5. E takes d5 actually is a mistake because eventually you will be in a trouble after those ideas with bishop h5 and rook on e1. You will not have enough time to castle and you might even lose your queen. So this would be a bad option. Another bad option would be queen takes d5 because you would still be with those 2 pawns, very weak pawns, and just after knight d2. Very important avoiding exchanging the queens because the position is rather open and the black king is not safe. So here white would continue to fight for win. So this would be 2 very bad options, but long castle actually would be a very interesting idea for black, and after knight c3, e takes d5, queen takes d5, queen takes d5, knight takes d5. White still should be a little better here, but this would be actually interesting for black. What happened in the game was d4, and now the center is very different from the situation that I have shown you before. After bishop f4, knight e7, trying to develop the pieces in a best way, bishop d3, those 2 bishops are actually very powerful, and white clearly has an advantage here. Long castle, knight e2, developing the very last piece and finishing the opening. h6. The idea of black is to attack this f4 bishop because he's the one protecting the e5 pawn. So white needs to do something with this. Knight e4 trying to enter into the d6 square, very, very strong square for black. Knight f5 protecting this square. h3. Now, preparing a safer position for a bishop, which is, as I mentioned to you earlier, about to protect a very important pawn. G5 attacking the bishop, bishop H2, looking for some safety over there. Bishop C6, rook E1, a very nice move, defending in the indirect way the E5 pawn just after we move our knight. Bishop G7 is not possible because you just lose the pawn C5. So bishop E7 was the move played in the game. Knight F6, very nice square for the knight in the army of your opponent. H5. Now the idea of black is to open the lines, and white here has two options, whether to let your opponent open the file or to let your opponent open the file and grab the pawn. So since there is no such a big difference, and in both cases white will have little more open position for his king, he decides to capture the pawn. Knight takes h5. Knight h4, attacking the g2 pawn. Here is the second very important moment in the game, as we call so striking moment or turning point. White has several options. In any case, he should or he needs to defend the g2 pawn, which is attacked. This pawn protects the king. So if we try just f3, it is a very bad idea because here the knight is on danger and black would just grab the knight. So it doesn't work. Let us go for bishop f1. Here there is a very nice combination for black by the means of, you ready? Knight f3, a very nice move, absolutely not the obvious one, by the means of making a double attack for the king and the rook. And black cannot capture with the queen because there is bishop that protecting the knight, so just g takes f3 is obligatory, and now I just take the knight and you have your king, which is in a very dangerous position since there is not many soldiers protecting him anymore. This means that bishop f1 is not working. Let us try another option, which is bishop e4. Yes, you are protecting the g2 pawn, which is a good idea, but here after bishop takes e4, rook takes e4, there is this very interesting move, queen c6. And now if you try with queen e2, protecting the rook, there is another nice combination for black, which is rook takes h4, and the white queen is overlord, so to speak, because if I take the rook, you just take mine, and you are one piece up. So you can try queen g4 with the same idea, but here goes absolutely the same thing. Rook takes h5, queen takes h5, and now queen takes a4. Black is winning. There was somehow another option which perhaps was missed by white, which is exactly knight g3, protecting both the knight because you just move it away from the danger, and the rook. And here white would be actually better, but Parham did not go for this line. If you ask why, I can tell you two options. First option, he just preferred the move that happened in the game and which I will show you just immediately. Or option two, he just basically did not see it, which is also possible. Have you already found the move in the game? I'm sure you did. Rook e5, a very outstanding exchange sacrifice. I sacrifice my rook for your bishop, and I protect my g2 pawn. Yeah, from the first glance, this is not reasonable, but after bishop takes e4, as happened in the game, bishop takes e4, d3, knight f6, rook d4, queen g4, knight f5, white is better because those pieces are extremely powerful and dangerous for black. Here is the third changing point in the game. White has an advantage and should have proceeded with something like rook d8, continuing improving your position, bringing more soldiers into the game and attacking a very important d3 pawn. But the thing is that white took a decision with only 4 seconds, sacrificing one more piece, which is the most important piece in the game, the queen. An absolutely unpredictable sacrifice to the queen. Rook takes g4, bishop takes e6, and here, after king b8, rook takes g4, white has 2 pieces against the queen, but this is not enough because it's only 6 for 9 if we count, but here it is actually an advantage for white, which is not that easy to understand from the first glance, but it is actually true, and this makes Parham even stronger from the viewer's point of view. Unfortunately, what happened in the game is something that Parham did not predict, perhaps because he has thought only for 4 minutes, or sorry, 4 seconds. 4 minutes would be enough, because as Parham mentioned later on in the interview, even if he had just took 1 minute, it would be enough for him to realize that in this very moment, he should have first tried rook d1 and only after sacrifice the queen, by bringing one more soldier and preparing everything for the beautiful sacrifice. But history is history. Bishop takes f5, rook takes g4, bishop e6, king d8 happen in the game, knight takes g6, and here one more mistake that Parham did is that he was only expecting queen a5, and after rook d1, white should be fine. But what happened in the game is that queen b6, attacking both the bishop and the b2 pawn, and here eventually white realized that he just ruined his beautiful position and an advantage on whole. Bishop f5 happened in the game, queen takes b2, rook d1, d2, and now the thing is that white cannot anymore grab this pawn on the d file, because even if he tries with king f1, queen takes e2, bishop e6 protecting the c4 pawn, king c7 preparing the d8 castle, the d8 square for the rook and defending the d2 pawn eventually. Knight e3 protecting both the rook on d1 and the c4 pawn, rook d8, king e2 trying to attack the d2 pawn, which is already defended, so doesn't help white at all. Rook d4. Here is another interesting moment, is that if white tries with knight d5, double attack for the king and the bishop on e7, actually black can just sacrifice back in exchange by the means of rook takes d5, and now after bishop takes d5, just b5, and those 4 pawns on the queen side are extremely powerful. Black is winning. In the game, black continued with knight f5, queen c2, preparing queen t3 check, f3, preparing another square for the black king to just try to survive, queen d3, king f2, king d8, protecting the e7 bishop, which was, by the way, on danger. g4, trying to prepare some passed pawns, but it's not succeeding at all. a5, aiming to become a future queen, as we all know. h4, g takes h4, bishop d5, protecting both pawns, f3 and c4, a4, and unfortunately for white, black pawn is way faster than black a pawn is way faster than white's g4 pawn. e6, trying to attack the rook by the means of bishop e5, which happened in the game. a2, f4, queen c2, attacking the very last piece that defends a1 square and preparing the queen, a new queen for black, as you may have understood. Knight takes e7, queen takes d1, and the future queen is unstoppable on the a1. White resigned. As Parham playing with white, Parham Maghsoodloo mentioned after the game, if at that very moment he just thought for something longer than 4 seconds, let's pretend 1 minute and played rook d1 instead of sacrificing the queen, and sacrificing the queen just later on. Let me show you. If over here on knight f5, white has played rook d1 one more time, I insist on this very moment, and only after queen b8 sacrificed beautifully this queen, it would have been one of the most beautiful games Maghsoodloo has ever played in his life. But unfortunately, we cannot change the result. Black won. We congratulated Cori on his achievement. Thank you for watching.